is everything. You know what I mean? Because like you got your clothes,
Yeah.
and what else do you need? Freaking TV, a phone, an internet connection,
No,
some stuff to do. Nice view, yeah, man.
you're absolutely right. And, I still want to have nice things too. But it is really about the freedom and being able to go places. Experiences is huge. Being able to experience different cultures, different food. You never know what you're missing out on. Just like eating the same food. I remember I was in the U.S. I was born and raised there. 21 years of my life, I was in the United States, and so having left the United States to go and try like different foods was like a completely life changing experience. You'd be surprised. I think that Peruvian food is like the most delicious food out of like all the foods that I've had.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
What kind of stuff they got? Like chicken and spices and what?
Oh, they got the chicken. They got the beef. They got salted beef. They've got this stuff called ceviche, which is like um, seafood. You got like some sort of fish, and it's just amazing, man. I strongly suggest it. Strongly suggest it.
That's badass. That's definitely on my list too. I'm waiting for my kids to get a little bit older, but I want to take a whole year or more. And we've already traveled quite a bit, but like go international. And that's always been like a vision of mine, is like having my kids have that sort of upbringing. So it's really cool, man. Like the freedom aspect of it is so much cooler than if you just had a high paying job and you had
Yeah.
a bunch of stuff. You know what I mean? Like you had all the stuff, but your time's locked in and you're locked into the location. It just hits different. You know what I mean? Because you got a ball, if you're doing that, you got a ball within the confines of the corporate structure. And you know what I mean? If you have a high paying corporate job too, you're normally the first one to go when things go bad. You know what I mean? They're gonna cut they're gonna cut the high paid people first.
Absolutely,
But
man. And I've seen what you've got going on with your wife and your kids. It's really awesome to see. You're raising your family at home. You're doing homeschooling. I like that. That's really a
yeah.
huge inspiration to me because that's the direction that I'd like to take my life in as well.
Oh yeah, man, dude. So my oldest just turned 12. We're at like a crucial stage. Like the schools that they were going to, the public schools, there's a lot of things, core values that we disagreed with. A lot of crazy things they'd come home and tell us that they heard from like
Yeah.
the other kids. We're like, dude, we need to like reclaim our kids back. You know what I mean? Because it's like we give them to these people and let them indoctrinate them for this whole time. And then we get them back and we've got to try to like reprogram our values. And fortunately, we're in the position where my wife has the desire to do it and we're able to do it because it really is a full-time thing. So I understand it's not a fit, for everybody, but like that's what we always aspire to. We just eventually figured out a way to pull it off. You know what I mean? So it's
Yeah.
definitely a huge blessing.
That's
And
incredible.
that
That's
peace of mind, you know what I mean? Having my kids
yeah.
close, knowing they're safe, being
And
able
I
to give
love
them a
that
good life.
I love that you said that peace of mind is so huge, right? And I think that that really is going to tie into this podcast, ladies and gentlemen, because when it comes down to this novation pitch, a lot of the time people ask, well, why is it that somebody would, accept a novation offer instead of just going and listing it with an agent? And I think that what you just said right there is why so many people want to work with us when we pitch these novations is it's because we can offer them that peace of mind. They don't want to go through the hassle of talking to an agent, finding that perfect guy that's going to list their property and go through that process of negotiations and everything. And I can't wait to jump into this and break this all down here with you. But
Yeah.
I think that's so key what you just shared right there.
Oh, piece of dude, and you nailed it. You know what I mean? That's the exact reason why the people go this direction with us. The ones that choose that, they're looking for the peace of mind and they're looking for certainty. They want to be hands off. They want to know that things are in good hands. So, yeah, absolutely. And for most people are going to hire an agent, but this is for all the people that won't. And there's enough of those out there, especially when you're actively marketing. I mean, once you see it, you can't unsee it. Like, you know what I mean? Like all these leads where they're motivated, all the ones that used to drive you crazy, we're like, man, I just can't wholesale this, but there's something there.
Yeah.
This unlocks lot of those. And then you throw in like top tier negotiation. Once you get really good at communicating and negotiating and, talking them to reasonable numbers, then it's just like wildfire. Now you're playing with cheat codes basically. Like you can do things that other people cannot do, and they just can't compete with you. You know what I mean? So it's dope.
Absolutely. And I'll share with you, it's completely changed the way that I look at acquisitions entirely, right? It's completely changed the way I look at acquisitions because it puts me in the driver's seat of the deal, right? I can do what I want with this deal. I can close it, I can assign it, I can bring a third party purchaser in, I can get somebody,
Yeah.
off the MLS that wants to go and get a finance loan. It gives me the full control of the deal. And that's the position that I want to be in when I acquire these deals. And it's so funny that you said that because everything has changed for me in my business. I've been going through a lot of different stages recently. I've been pivoting a lot. I want to thank you personally, man, because you've had a huge impact on me and this entire community. Just the meta of off-market real estate acquisition in general. I got to be the one to say it. I've made over 6 figures from Novations alone this year, right? That
Hell yeah.
absolutely insane, absolutely insane. And I'm beyond blessed and beyond grateful, to be in proximity with you and everybody that's joining us, ladies and gentlemen. This is the #1 most valuable real estate community in existence. You've got to invite somebody you think would benefit from being in proximity with us. We're about to dive into this call with the Novation King. This is going to be absolutely fantastic. And I have personal experience to say this is real. A lot of people have their thoughts and reservations about, is this possible? You can't do this. I hear all the time from agents, that kind of stuff. Man, I gotta share with you a situation that I actually just went through with an agent. They actually went and blew up the deal. I was scrambling last minute. I got somebody that said, hey, I'll take a look at this. And I did everything that I could on my side, to handle all the objections up front and set expectations for, would you be okay with this? They said, yeah, we'll do it. I set an appointment, had the seller take off work to be there. They go there, or they cancel on me. The agent originally that said they were going to go out there cancels on me. And I had to scramble, find somebody to go there. They go and they ask to see the agreement and pretty much put fear in this guy's heart. Like, you're getting scammed. Like, this is not legit. You're not getting a real offer. This isn't legal and binding. And to be honest, man, it wasn't even the biggest deal. It wasn't a huge spread. But
yeah,
I just want to know from you how you would handle a situation like that. Because for me, just because of the amount of leads that I'm getting, because I've switched everything from SMS and cold call, because those were my 2 strongest marketing channels in the beginning, all now direct to PPC. So now I'm doing Google ads, and that has changed my business entirely. So I'd love to know kind of how you would have handled that type of situation where an agent goes and blows up the deal.
Yeah. So I'll give you an analogy that I was using with my team earlier. Like with these deals, you have to think about your deal as is the best analogy is taking a class of kindergartners that are all sugared up through a dangerous jungle that has wild animals, unfriendly tribes, and everything you can imagine, poison ivy, everything. So you have to you have to have that care with it, that you're constantly keeping everybody close to you, keeping all the bad people away as much as possible, you know what I mean? And moving things. And there should always be this fear of losing control of your deal. Like it's super important. And it's much easier to set a high standard in the beginning of like authority and control and persuasion and influence and all that and maintain it. But it's very difficult when it's not set and then broken, you know what I mean? And sometimes it's not your fault, right? And sometimes there's bad actors involved that aren't forthright. But I mean, the best thing you can do with everything is setting up expectations with everybody first. And most importantly, remember, ultimately, you need your seller on your side. Your seller is the only person that ultimately matters. Even if the realtor blows up, everything blows up. If it's still you and your seller, you're good. Like you and your seller are married. So you got to take care of your seller first, right? But then you have to try to bring in the best people possible. And I mean, here's when they'll get more squirrely. When you're unclear, or if there's a newer person, like my newer people are always the ones that tend to run into more trouble with the agents, just because they're just speaking differently than the more experienced guys are, right? But it still happens to me too. You know what I mean? You're not, but that's generally to the newer people, they'll get that more. But setting up with the agent where you're interviewing them, they're seeing you as a person of high value, a person of authority, where they're trying to compete for the position, and they're always trying to impress you. It's never you trying to prove yourself to them. It's always them trying to prove yourself to you. But more importantly, with the seller too, is you have to have the explanation of, hey, listen, I'm bringing someone over to come and look at the house. They're a licensed agent. I don't know if I'm going to be hiring them to work with me on this or not, but I just need to get their opinion on the property. You know, the jury's out on them, but whether I work with them or not, I'm going to be the one that's paying them, or our company's going to be the one that's paying them. But if they're starting asking you a bunch of questions or get into things that has nothing to do with them looking at the house, please feel totally comfortable. Shoot me a text, call me. You can politely let them know to direct all those technical questions or deal type questions towards us, because that's what we're here for. We know, you know what I mean? This is not your deal. We're gonna make things super easy. So I just, I think it'll probably be fine. The person seems fine and nice, but I just want to prep. So when you set that up first, because then what you always want to do is prep them for the thing that you're afraid can go wrong. You know what I mean? It's like overcome it before it happens as much as you can. Because it goes back to setting the expectations too, because then they know what's coming next. The thing where people freak out, realtors too, is if they think one thing's going on and then they find out it's something different, then they're like upset. You know what I mean? And same with the sellers. So
yeah, I 100% agree with you. Setting those expectations, the upfront expectations and agreements, is so important. That's how I've completely changed like the way that I think about sales in general, is just literally having people agree, setting the framework, setting the tone. I'm sure you probably heard the book, You Can't Teach a Kid to Ride a Bike at a Seminar, right? The Sandler selling system.
I've heard of it, yeah.
It's so relevant, and I haven't like really dived like completely into that, but just the general principle of it is so relevant, and I see how it's applicable, to having a good sales process. And so for the people that are maybe seeing you for the first time, Rich, tell them a little bit about where you started in the world of sales and how you started really as a door-to-door salesman. Tell them, what were you selling door-to-door? What were you doing in the beginning to actually sell?
So I sold Kirby vacuum cleaners door to door, which is a big metal vacuum. Everyone on this call is probably much too young to know what it is, but like your great grandma probably had one, or your grandma. It's a big metal vacuum. They're like $2,500 to $3,000, when I worked there. But like we go in, we do these high pressure sales presentations. And the guy I worked for was a G. Like he was making several $1 million a year, and he'd been doing that for like 20 years. And he had all the things that, like, you know what I mean? Like, he was the first person I really looked up to, where he had his family, his kids were in private schools. He was coaches on all their stuff. He had a massive pool with a cave and all this. I was just like, dude, this would be so cool to be this guy's kid. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it really inspired me. That was before I had kids. You know what I mean? So I was just a single dude. I saw him killing it, and I just rode that wave for just way too long. Like I did that for 9 years. And I tried to open up my own office. I did that for 2 years. It was so much work, and I just hated it. Like I did it for the money, and it was just I got so locked in. Like I know this works, so I can do it, but I was just going for the wrong thing. You know what I mean? Like I was meant to lounge around the pool and talk on the phone, and you know what I mean? Close deals, and you know what I mean? Not to pull dirt pads and, vacuum mattresses. So it's easy to get stuck on something that's your original dream, where you see there's a way. But once you realize the abundance of the world, there's lots of ways, and you have to ultimately find out what is it that you actually want in life, because your dream should align with that. You know what I mean? Kind of like how you did it. Like, obviously you've got a passion for travel. That's not something you accidentally do. Like there's a lot that went into you coordinating all this. and you
Yeah.
found something that worked with that. You know what I mean? You could have been a great car salesman, but you wouldn't be in Chile right now. You know what I mean? So,
Absolutely. And it's so true because I think what you hit on about creating that vision and that lifestyle, that imagination, that dream for you, and what it is you really are working towards is so important. And it will help you choose the vehicle. Because, and this is one thing that I've been thinking about a lot, is like everybody has a role, and everybody has a role that's important too, in the world. And not everybody can be in the position of an investor. Like, we do need to have agents, we do need to have all these people that do all these different things. But for those of us that really decide that this is what we want, they've got to understand that it's not going to be easy, right? Because if it was easy, everyone would do it, right? So it is going to be difficult. And for the people that are maybe hearing about novations or wholesaling, and seeing, the results and the glamour and the positives and the benefits and the lifestyle, for them to understand that this kind of stuff doesn't happen overnight is so important. And this was one of the things that I was reflecting on today. I was just walking and I thought about it. I was like, I've been doing this for the last 2.5 years. And only recently have I really dialed it in to the point where now I'm like, I've got a system and a process, and I have the confidence to know that if you put me on the phone with somebody who has a motivation to sell, I will be able to pre-qualify that person and get them to sign, right? And so I do it live. Like, I'll have people sit down and watch live. We'll host live streams and we'll just lock people up. We'll show them how to negotiate. And so I think for a lot of people that are maybe hearing about wholesaling or novations, that are trying to pitch, their offer, especially me when I first got started, I just didn't have the vision of how to actually get them through that process, right? We all hear a lot about pre-qualification online. A lot of people talk about the 4 pillars and how to pre-qualify somebody, but getting them to go from being interested to then signing an agreement and being committed to working with you is a whole nother process. And I'd love if we could break that down here for the people that are interested to know how exactly you're pitching these novations and positioning yourself in a way where you can build that rapport, build that credibility, build that trust, and then build that commitment from the seller for them to go from a prospect to a client.
sure. Okay, sweet. Yeah, no, you hit some excellent points there. And there's a couple things too. I think one of the overarching questions that is kind of being presented with this too is like, if you're a new person, like how do you get involved with this where you can turn effort into money, right?
Right.
In some form, right? Because this is the thing, right? Let's say I want to, like, my dream is to go build skyscrapers, right? I can't start with trying to create my own first project, right? There's
Right.
there's a path of ascension, right? Now you can jump up levels, right? Now if my uncle or my godfather happens to build skyscrapers and my family has been for years, okay, I can jump up that path, right? But you have to first be willing to be at the bottom and take like a full inventory of, okay, what am I working with? What are my assets? What are my resources? Do I have money? Yes or no, right? Do I have time? Do I have skill sets? Do I have effort? Like, what can I contribute to the universe and make a return on my investment, right? And so for most people starting out, right, they don't have a lot of money, if any, right? I didn't when I started. I had no money. I had to go work for someone else, right? But
And that's okay too.
like, yeah, I would say, like, for the new people, the best way to start off would be to be working to learn how to identify them first and learn how to move them along down that path enough where you can get it in the hands of someone like John or my team or other experienced people on this call. Because here's the thing, if you wait until you can do the whole deal by yourself before you do your first deal, you're going to watch so many buses pass you by while you sit on that stop and try to nail this down. Because I'll be honest, like, I'm not going to BS with you guys. Like, yes, can you get lucky? But this isn't the same like with a wholesale deal. Even the easy novation deal has a lot of potholes and has a higher barrier of entry because you got to convince the agent. There's a lot of moving parts, the title company, the paperwork, repairs. You're going to be spending money. There's a lot that goes with it. But what properties are good for this? All the ones you can't wholesale that the seller wants to sell. That's the short answer. Okay, because if I can wholesale it, believe me, I'm gonna wholesale it. Unless I can make way more novating it, I'm always going to try to wholesale it. But like with Novations, right? We can do stuff in small towns where there aren't a lot of cash buyers. We can put it on the market and just sell to a regular person. And then we can also do stuff that is at a discount, but not low enough for a cash buyer, but there's enough room for us to make money and sell it to a family. So like for people starting out, like I could go into our sales process in a second, but like I would just tell people that because I don't want to give you like, I can give you the sale, like locking it up. You guys could learn that fairly quickly, especially like with the way we do it, right, John? Like super repeatable process, right? If you know the whole plan. But the thing is if I have you lock it up, that's just like that's like when you get in the game. Like the money's made on the whole back end. like getting the kids through the jungle is where you get the prize at the end. Like when it's locked up, that's when they release the kids to you. And then you got to get through the journey and avoid the snake pit and the drawbridge and all the crazy stuff. So yeah, like I would say but wholesaling, absolutely. You know, you can bust out with that right away. And a lot of times with just pure determination and blindly following a sound plan, like you can have success with that.
Yeah.
But yeah, let me know what I know I'm yapping a lot. Like let me know what direction you kind of want to go with it.
No, absolutely. But I think what you talked about was very important, and it's something that we've been talking about a lot lately is like for people that are getting into the game, right? There is a path of ascension. There are levels to it, right? You're not going to go from having never developed anything to building a skyscraper. You're not going to go from having never closed a deal to convincing somebody to allow you to list their property if you don't have the right process. And I think that's what Rich is really good at doing is showing people the process that has been working for him and is scalable, and he's got a whole team, dedicated to doing this. I mean, Rich, you've been crushing it on these JVs. I mean, Rich's team has over 100 contracts right now in escrow, like managing all these people. So it's incredible. It's plug and play, and I'm seeing that it's scalable, right? We can see it. He's a spitting example of how well this works. My whole thing is, I really want people to understand that, yeah, you could follow the process, you could get on the phone and take action, but there's no way to skip that tutorial part of a video game where you have to gain the experience, right? You can't just go from level 0 and take on the boss, right? You've got to go through the mistakes, you've got to go through the pitches, you've got to go through the reps. But for people that are ready to take action and want to get some sort of return sooner rather than later, the best thing that they can do is to learn how to identify these opportunities, pre-qualify these sellers, because it's really the most simple thing to do, and position yourself in a way where you don't have to have all of the answers, right? I think that's something that a lot of people really struggle with is they feel like they get on the phone and they've got to be the big boss, like they're the one making the decision, they're the one writing the check, they're the one negotiating. I love your approach in saying like, no, I'm actually working with my team. I've got my underwriter who's going to give me the yes or no. I'm that glorified information gatherer, right? That is a super powerful position to be in, because then it can't be your fault, that you get this specific number back and you're on their team and you're working with them. And I love that. So I would love for you to talk about that a little bit more. And I'd love to talk about the amazing opportunity that you've been working on in doing JVs with the community and offering, so much value to these people that are bringing these opportunities to you and closing on them. So I just want to, highlight your success and talk about really all the amazing stuff that you're doing and have been contributing, to the community.
Thank you, brother. No, thank you, man. Yeah, like on like on the sales side of things, right? This is kind of like my overall philosophy. Okay, because a lot of these we're dealing with higher price point houses. Okay, so you're dealing with people that are the boss at work or they have their own business. They're not that like the more aggressive techniques on these types of people, a lot of times we'll turn them off and they won't be as effective. So like, there's a million ways to skin a cat, but my sales philosophy is we break it down into 3 different phases. Okay, the discovery phase is the first phase. So the discovery phase is no friction. We're not negotiating with them. The whole purpose of it is to set the stage of us being just good-hearted professional people that are on top of it and trying to understand about the house, their situation, their timeline, just gathering as much data as we can. So we purposely don't negotiate back and forth with them, give them any friction, because we want them to open up. Because with these properties, it's not normally about the house. There may be some issues with the house that are a contributing factor, but the driving force is a personal situation. So how do we get to that? We're not going to get them on the phone and them just start to, some of them will, but some of them won't. So the more you talk about the house, right? And we have a whole process where we go through everything, where we gather everything, and we put this in our back pocket, because as soon as we start negotiating and creating friction, they stop volunteering the information we need, because they now feel like they're in a negotiation and they don't want to volunteer information that they feel makes them vulnerable or could be used against them, right? So especially for you guys, going through a normal discovery process, like when you identify, hey, this is a house that's in a nice neighborhood and it appears to be in good shape, there's a good chance you're not going to be wholesaling that house. But you can go through this process and hear all about the house and their situation and their timeline and all that, and gather all the information. Leave them waiting for a final decision. So after you gather all this, you can just set it up like this. Hey, I'm not the final decision maker. I'm going to go pass this over to my team and they'll be able to evaluate this. Now we're looking at quite a few properties right now, just because of all the changes in the market. So normally I can get back to you same day. It may take a day or two just because of the volume of properties that we're looking at. But I just want to make sure before I put them to work, if we are able to get a formal written offer and it works for you and it works for us, would there be anything stopping us from moving forward with paperwork? Boom. And then you just lock them in right there. No, nothing would be, as long as the price in terms of, okay, perfect. All right, well, I'll get back to you as soon as I can with the decision. And I'll talk to you soon. And then you leave them waiting. So another thing too about setting us up, don't pitch Novation. Don't tell them about it. Hey, I've got this other thing. Hey, I've got this guy I want to connect you with. And we tried it that way. And a lot of people want to do it that way, but I'm telling you from experience, we have the highest connection rate if they're waiting for a callback. So you leave them waiting for a callback, submit the info to us or to John or whoever it is that you're working with. Or if you know how to do novations and people are setting them up to you, you could steal my plan. You know what I mean? There's enough deals for all of us. Like, I'm just giving you guys the sauce just because I fuck with John and I fuck with this group here, right? But basically leave them waiting waiting for a final decision, right? And then you give them to us, we'll reach out to you, and then you connect with the seller, with us on three-way. And you basically say, hey, look, unfortunately, we'll give you a script. Hey, unfortunately, this deal, we're not going to be able to make an offer on it. It just doesn't fit our criteria. However, I have my colleague Rich on the phone, and the company he works with has a different model than us. And he may be able to make an offer on it. He just has a couple questions to see if it might be a fit. And then boom, we're already connected, already on the phone. They just got dumped. And then we passed her off to passed the deal off, right? And then now we can go through a whole discovery phase. So that's how we do it on the handoff side. Now on the, how do we actually close these? The second phase is the anchor phase, where basically now once we have all the information, now we have to consolidate their expectations with reality. Because they're looking for a solution that doesn't exist. And this is why their house isn't sold yet. They want more money than what it'll reasonably sell for to the people available. Right? So we have to basically show them through data that this is what a real cash offer looks like. So we hit them with low anchors. We talk about repairs. We talk about closing costs. We basically just walk them through all the ugliest things about selling a house and all the hassle and show them what a real cash offer looks like. Because before they will agree to a novation, you have to crush the hopes that a cash offer like they're looking for exists. As long as they think the door's open, you know what I mean? They're going to hold out for that. That's why they're bouncing from person to person. But also gives us the chance to scorch the earth. I tell them, hey, if someone claims they have a cash offer, make sure they've got hard earnest money and everything, because we know for our novation offer, we're going to tell them we're not the buyer. So we're not worried about that. You know what I mean? But yeah, and then we just get them down with low ranges. And then on the third phase is called the delivery phase. And that's when basically we tell them, hey, look, you did qualify for a cash offer, but unfortunately, it's probably not going to work because it's way lower than you were looking to be. We'd have to be at 142,000. I know that's not a match. However, I have some great news. Okay, I was telling you earlier, we're a creative real estate investment company. And we have a program that I didn't really mention because it's one of the hardest ones to qualify for. It's called the concierge service. And I was really thinking this was going to be a perfect fit. And I have my fingers and everything crossed, hoping we get you qualified. And believe it or not, I just got back a full approval. And I'll explain exactly how it works. Okay. Basically, because your property, or wait. Go ahead. So,
No.
all right, okay. Basically, sorry. I had a brain glitch right there. It's been a long day. So basically, from doing so many deals in Texas, right? We develop a robust network of realtors, cash buyers, even retail buyers, where sometimes properties aren't a fit for us, but it's a perfect fit for someone else within our reach. And what we can do is basically give you all the convenience of a cash offer, meaning you don't have to pay for anything, you don't have to lift a finger, spend a penny. It's a completely hands-off white glove experience where we deliver the result on the silver platter, and we actually are just reselling our contract to a third party. All that happens behind the scenes. I think you're going to be pleasantly surprised when you see how much more money you'll be making. So I got everything written up in black and white. I'm going to shoot it over. So I don't mention the price when we're doing it. And I'm paraphrasing there, but that's basically it, right? And then basically we get them, direct them to their email. We shoot over the offer, and then we explain all the details as we're going through the paperwork. This is really important. This is what most people do. They pitch too much on the front end. There's too much foreplay and not enough of the real deal. You know what I mean? They play around too much at the beginning, and then now it's, there's too many questions, too much uncertainty. So you have to sell the sizzle, walk them through the paperwork, and close with action. And we've just gotten that down to a science, and we're like freaking robots. Like, I've got 18 guys on my team right now. So if we're doing it 18 different ways, if someone's not performing, it's pretty difficult for us to diagnose what's going wrong. So I would recommend this for everybody, right? It's great doing deals, but I'm telling you, you're not going to truly live the life you want until you build a team, because you're just going to be a really high paid employee. You're going to be self-employed. You know what I mean? So the key thing to building a team is showing people exactly what to do and then holding them accountable to doing it. That's like basically it. You have to make it as simple and as effective as possible. And that's what I've tried to do with my system, right? I've taken a lot of stuff out. You know what I mean? We've streamlined a lot of things because there really is an art form to simplifying things and having them still have all the core things that work, shaving off all the little extra stuff that isn't needed. So we've really dialed this in on that tip. And then now, like, my goal is to like double our deal flow and double our team size by the end of the year. So
I love it, man. And I've seen you grow, from over the last year. And we got a chance to connect back in like 2022. It was like January 22 at that event. And that was an awesome event. And so I would love for you to talk to us about two things. Number one, I know that you are big on leveraging your network and building up your connections and relationships for people to bring you deals. For people that are more interested in going direct to seller to acquire those deals, what do you think is the number one marketing stream that people should be investing their money and time into?
That's a great question. If you take money out of, like, if we're saying, hey, infinite money supply, PPC all day, right? But again, there's kind of an ascension path to get to PPC. If you have $3,000 to start your business, I probably wouldn't recommend going out and spending your last $3,000 on like a month or two of PPC. You know what I mean?
Right.
But I think PPC is great. I mean, honestly, all the lead sources work if you optimize them and you do enough of it for it to hit like the effective dose, if you will. Right. But I'm a big fan of all the inbound stuff. Like, I've got a JV partner that sends me TV ad leads. A lot of them send us PPC, but we have a lot of JV partners that are sending us cold call leads, even ones that they called. So you know what I mean? We're looking for people. There's different baits we can fish with, but they all freaking work. You can't say cold calling doesn't work because I've got all sorts of boys that are running big operations on cold calling. It just, in my opinion, it sucks. Like I don't like it. I don't like it, but I don't like door knocking either. But I can't say it doesn't work. It's just not my preference.
Right.
Because they all have their own little nuance to it too. But I like PPC, PPL, and JV is the best, honestly. Because here, like in this group, right? So there's 83 people on here right now. I guarantee you there's one person that has a whole list of leads but doesn't have enough people to call them. There's another person that doesn't have any list to call but has the time and wants to learn. You know what I mean? It's like you gotta realize like, yo, we're building a whole, when you're building a deal, it's like building a house. And if you don't have the crew, the materials and all that crap, you got to get around other people. You know what I mean? Because it's so true, man. My whole business is built off of working with other people. Like if you take other people out of the mix, I have nothing. You know what I mean? It's everything. So I would, even if you're not trying to get social media like known or whatever, like that's not your thing, still network with people because even as just a player, you know what I
Yeah.
mean? The more people you know, it is so helpful, dude. Because I run across people that know stuff that, like, I met a guy last night, friend of a friend, has this
Yeah.
opportunity in the trucking industry that sounds like sick. And a bunch of
Yeah.
his boys are doing it that I know, and it seems really lucrative. I'm like, dude, this is awesome. And this is just from my friend. I never would have heard about this any other way. So getting around good people is so crucial, man. That's how money flows,
Absolutely.
is between people.
And that was really a big inspiration, for starting a community like REI Rev, was to get all these people in the same room. The real estate industry, in specifically that wholesaling, off market, direct to seller, acquisition industry, is like such a small world. Like everybody kind of knows everybody, and to get them in a place, in a room where everybody can connect, just being in proximity with each other is going to create so many different opportunities. Talking about the leads that you got, talking about the deals you got under contract. Hey, I'm marketing in this area. Hey, I've got boots on the ground here. If anybody needs help, like these are the real opportunities that you have being in this room right now. We've got 83 people in this room watching the live right now. These are all your partners. So when you get on the phone and you're talking to these sellers and maybe you don't have a response to a question, somebody asks you a question, you don't know the answer, you can legitimately and confidently tell them, hey, let me reach out to a partner of mine that knows a little bit more about this. I don't have that answer to that question right now, but I'd be happy to get back to you when I do. Instead of trying to position yourself as the expert or the big boss, who's got to tell them or come up with something on the fly. And what I've seen in my business and my experiences, people respect you more when they can sense that you are being authentic and honest with them, right? People don't want to really do business with the huge corporate guy, trying to get their property. Like they have this notion about investors trying to snatch their property, pennies on the dollar. And if you can just be honest and let them know that, hey, I'm an investor, so I've got to be able to purchase at a price that I can profit from, and being honest and setting that expectation up front. And I love that Rich said that, is setting these expectations up front is what literally helps you, get to the next step and ultimately get to the close.
Yeah, and the whole thing of like some people think like you have to be a big company and stuff for them. Dude, we don't tell them our name of our company. We don't have a website. I'm not on the BBB. And I've had people that have come on the team that are like freaking out, like, dude, how could, like, these people are asking me about a website and all this. I was like, I'm telling them, I'm like, dude, I've made all this money without that stuff. It's a limiting belief. The reason they're asking about that is they're not assured by your conversation alone. When you get
Yeah.
really good at talking to them, and yeah, you're right, you don't have to know all the answers. And a lot of times, even if you do know the answers, it's best not to give the answer right then. You know what I mean? Like it's
Mm-hmm.
chess, not checkers
Yeah.
sometimes. So much better to be honest and just, they understand. Look, they're probably not talking to the CEO, they're not talking to the final decision maker on initial call. So if you don't know the answer, they're not going to be, you know what I mean? They're not going to trip out. It's much better to say, hey, let me check on that with a higher up. I want to make sure that I give you the correct information than to give them some answer that everybody knows is like, sounds sus. You know what I mean? Sounds
Yeah.
weird.
Yeah. Talk to us. Yeah, man. Talk to us a little bit about how you've overcome some of these limiting beliefs, man. Because you really went from selling vacuums to being in real estate. You're in a beautiful penthouse. You got your family. You got everything set up. But I know that didn't happen overnight. That was a process.
Yeah.
You've gone from where you started to where you're at and going towards where you'll be. But what were some things that you've done to be able to invest in yourself, your personal development, your mindset, your mentality, your perspective? What changed the game for you?
Man, that's a great question, bro. It's a great question. And it kind of links back to like we were talking about, there's like an ascension process of like when you're moving up. And like, so when I first got into real estate, right? I was at like an emotional kind of rock bottom, right? Well, how was I at the time? I must have been what, 34, I believe. I had a baby on the way. I'd been selling vacuums for 9 years. I was burnt. I already did the thing of getting, ascending up that and then coming back down, closing my office, working for that guy. And I was just at that point where I was just disgusted with the way that the direction things were going. Like things were going down. Like at that point, my best Kirby days were behind me and my best everything days. And I'd always, my original dream was to make it in music. I was a producer and made beats and went to school for that. So my first dream didn't work out. Then the Kirby thing didn't work out. Now I've got more responsibility than I ever had, less resources and less hope. So I went through like a major like identity crisis and somewhat of just an emotional rock bottom where, and then the thing was I saw my boy traveling, my boy Jared, JR Piper. I went to elementary school with him and I thought he was a realtor and I saw him, he was in like Brazil and like Argentina and then in Asia and all this stuff. And I'm like, how the hell is he a realtor and traveling the world? Like, what the hell is this? I thought you're in houses selling houses. And I reached out and I found out even though he was still a realtor, he's wholesaling. And then he had got into fix and flipping. And the fact that he was someone I grew up with and I knew came up just like me, he had
Yeah.
gotten in a bunch of trouble. Like he had a problem like with drugs and he's been clean and sober for years now. But you know what I mean? Like the fact that he was doing it and I saw credible evidence, that was enough where I said, if he can do it, I know there's a way I can figure it out. You know
Mm-hmm.
what I mean? And then,
Yeah.
so that was the identity shift. So I think the first thing is you have to figure out what is your target that you're trying to hit. Like, what is the best version of you, or at least a better version than you are now that you can envision? What does that look like? And what would have to change for you to start moving towards that? And then you also, right? So you have to first identify the goal. Then you have to figure out what like attributes do I need to build up to become the type of person that can pull this off? That was my thing with him. I was like, okay, so I want to be like him traveling the world. Yeah, I called him and talked to him and I learned about wholesale. Then I just started YouTubing it. I'm like, okay, cool. Let me start finding out what's the next thing I can do because I'm stuck in Kirby. I'm living check to check. I can't just tell my boss F you tomorrow. You know what I mean? And I didn't
Right.
want to go work for him. You know what I mean? Because that was my boy, but he was kind of like a solo dude. I was like, let me find the top guy in Arizona. And that's how I came across Sean Terry. And his sales process was like mine. And that's what made me buy into it because I was already doing what he was doing in Kirby. But
Mm-hmm.
yeah, like that was the next thing. Like, so building up your attributes and then getting connected with people that are already in motion that can plug you into the game and you can provide some sort of value, whether it be your labor, your, whatever it is that you can provide.
Right.
And then they can give you a piece of these deals so that you're making money as you're learning and getting experience. Like you're saying, like you can't learn to ride a bike in a seminar. It's kind of the same things with these deals. If you wait until you feel like you're ready to do them, like you're going to waste so much time. Like you're going to learn so much better. Like just like getting plugged in and finding some way to get active in it, to get at least in the game, even if you're just cold calling, like start somewhere, but you got to be willing to be a beginner before you can ever be an expert. You know what I mean? And most people aren't willing to do something they're not already good at.
No, absolutely. And I mean, I want to ask you, are you the type of guy that writes down things? Do you have a journal? Do you write what it is you want to accomplish? Have you written stuff out that has come and manifested into your life?
Dude, so I don't do it all the time, but I
Yeah.
have done that in some pivotal moments.
Yeah.
And when I first left Sean Terry's operation, right? When I got fired from there after a disagreement on a hire,
Uh-huh.
I had this whiteboard in our house. I had this rental house that I got. I went from like a 1,100 square foot tiny rental house from Kirby to we had like a 2,000 square foot rental house, right? So I was like already kind of moving up. We had a little bit more room. Had the board on there, and it said what was it? Because I used to read this every day. It was to the effect of like my family and I live an interesting, exciting, impactful life. My
Yeah.
kids are interested in sports. They get to try all sorts of all their different interests. We travel at will. We have more than enough money for all of our expenses and to give generously to causes that we agree, that we believe in. We make an impact on the world beyond our wildest dreams. It was just like all the ultimate things. And I watch that every day, and like it's so crazy because I've forgot all about it for a while, and now I'm looking, I'm like, dang, like this, like a lot of this is like manifesting. But like the mindset stuff
Yeah.
is, I can't tell you, it's freaking everything. It's not enough, but without it, you're fucked. Like that alone won't get you there, but you're
Right.
probably not going to get there without it because it's going to get too difficult and you're going to quit unless you're just, there's certain people that are just wired a certain way. That's great, you know what I mean? But like me, like if I don't keep my mindset in check, like I will, like it will get the best of me. Like I have to self manage myself to stay on track because there is a part of me that just wants to chill, you know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like or when things get rough, I'd rather not deal with it, you know what I mean? It's easy to say, hey, I'm straight, you know what I mean? I don't have to deal with this.
Right.
But the thing too is, trying to make an impact. And I know like now, you know what I mean? I've got people that count on me, you know what I mean? My team counts on me, you know
Yeah.
what I mean? Our JV partners are counting on us, and there's a lot of people involved, you know what I mean? So I think that's another thing too, is being able to figure out a way, no matter what stage of the game you're in, figure out a way on how to give back or to lift people up with you. Because I heard a quote the other day, was like a true sign of power is like not who you can get to like bow down to you or go underneath you. It's how many people can you lift up and elevate is a true sign of like strength and power. And like I would love that for like my life to be something where I leave like a wake of people that get to benefit, that I somehow made their journey better in some way. You know what I mean? Or threw them something that helped them out.
No, absolutely, and I mean, I can say, without a doubt, man, I've been so blessed to be in proximity with you and the countless other people that have come and participated and shared so generously with this community. I can't even tell you how many DMs I get on a normal basis where people share their gratitude because of this podcast, because of the community, because of being able to make the connections in here. Like, I'm even seeing it between two of the members that have been super active in here. Like, they've been going on, they started working together and they got plugged in. They're calling leads, they're closing deals, and they're getting stuff assigned because they met in here. And it goes back to that opportunity, just evaluating what resources you have. If you don't have money, you've got to get creative, right? Because you're not, there are two types of people, right? There are people that are broke and they might not have access to the money, and there are people that are poor, right? They don't think they can do anything for themselves, right? There is no way that they can be successful. And so for those of us that are in a position where you're first getting started, or maybe you're tight on cash or whatever, I'll tell you from personal experience, I started with nothing, right? Just like Rich started with nothing. I mean, being in a position where you got a baby on the way, you're watching your empire crumble, you don't know what you're going to do. I mean, I can only imagine the amount of stress and pressure that you were feeling in that moment to then make a decision to say, hey, I'm going to get out of this vehicle. I'm going to stop selling this, and I'm going to get into real estate, and I'm going to go all in on that. And that's another thing that I want to really talk about too, is like, you've got to go all in on something, right? You're either going to go all in and you're going to go work 9 to 5 and you're going to wake up every day and you're going to show up to your job and that's what you're going to do, or you're going to decide to say, hey, that's not what I want for my life. And I'm going to, instead of doing that, I'm going to show up for myself. I'm going to show up for my business. I'm going to show up for my future. And it can be scary, right, to take that risk. But if you don't allow yourself to make the trade. If you don't offer up the life that you have for the life that you want, you're going to be stuck with what you have. You can't have them both, right? You got to let go of what you have to receive, what's coming to you. And I love that you talked about that abundance and feeling that abundance, because it's so true. It's like, you can have the right people in your life, not be present because you're in association with the wrong people. You can have opportunities fall because you're overlooking a deal. You're looking at it with the wrong lens. Like, there are so many different ways to make money. There's so many different avenues, especially in real estate, to profit. You can be an agent and make money. You can be a wholesaler and make money. You can do novations and make money. There's no scarcity in opportunity, especially in real estate. And so I'm really grateful, because even just in one deal, we've done, my biggest deal has been an ovation, right? 70K spread on a deal. And I've seen Rich has been doing some crazy deals lately, man. Crazy deals lately. But to see it, in real life and actually be able to benefit from it and like know like this is real. There are people out there that really do need our help and that want to work with us. We just have to become the professionals that can facilitate these types of transactions, has been what has changed the game for me. So I just wanted to say, man, I really appreciate you. I appreciate, all of the incredible people that are joining us right now. And it's truly a blessing, to even just be in this room right now. I personally don't believe in coincidence. I believe that everything happens for a reason. And I believe that everybody that's in attendance to this call right now has a purpose and a reason for being here. And I truly hope that everyone in here decides to take action, given the information that was so generously shared by Rich, to not even just dive into his content and go and follow him on Instagram and tap in with him and his team, because what they are building is incredible. And I'm so excited to promote that in every way that I can. But to also go out there and hit the phones and start to talk to these people and find these opportunities and partner with those of us that are closing these types of deals, because just like he said, it's abundant. There are plenty of sellers to go around. I've got a lot of leads on my pipeline right now. It's like, for a one-man show, it can get overwhelming how many people there are that are trying to work with you. So I want people to really get out there and take action and really apply what they've learned from this call tonight. And if you've got some time, I'm not sure how pressed are you on time right now, Rich?
I'm good, man. I'm good. I set aside some extra time because I thought we might get into the trenches here. So I'm down, man. Let's do it. We
Well,
don't
I
get to
love
talk
it.
every day.
I love it, man.
Yep.
Yeah, and we got to talk more, man. I'd love to figure out a way where we could collaborate on something big, man. Because one of the things that I've been seeing that I think the community really needs is access to a marketplace, amongst the members in the community. And I'm not sure what your specific goals are in real estate. If you're really looking to just double down on the novations and the assignment side and just keep pushing these deals, or if you have any interest in like building up a portfolio of your own. But I really want to put people in a position where if they want to buy the deals from the people that are wholesaling in this community, they can see those deals and write the assignment fees for these wholesalers, right? Because it could become a environment where the people that get in here can provide value to people that are more established, that have that track record, that have the bigger bank account, that want to build up their portfolio, and those people can share that wealth with the people that are just getting started, with these assignment checks and partnerships and that kind of stuff. And I think that it would just be an amazing opportunity. And I'd love to know, we've got about 70 people joining us right now, ladies and gentlemen. Drop some fire in the chat if you think that would be a good idea for us to have that marketplace, or have some sort of hub where you could be in touch and in connection, in proximity with professionals just like Rich, where if you've got a deal, he could see it and he could say, okay, yeah, this makes sense. Like, we could do something with this. And I see there's a lot of people in here that would love something like that, and I'd love to be able to collaborate with you to make it happen. So we should definitely stay in touch, and we'll talk after this call. I'd love to also open it up for members of the community to hop up on stage and ask some questions if that's cool with you. We could bring some people up. We can get the speakers ready here. You should now all be able to raise your hand, ladies and gentlemen, if you want the opportunity to come up and join us on the stage. If you have a question or you want to talk shop or introduce yourself, this is that opportunity. Of course, be mindful of Rich's time and our time, and be intentional with the questions that you ask. That's the only thing that we always ask.
Quick question. I have to turn my camera around. Nice meeting you, Richard. Man, it's been a while. I think I met you back in, I think it was San Antonio, but I talk to you every
Okay,
now and then.
OKC, right? At
Yep.
OKC.
OKC Evolved. That's what it was.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. What's up, bro?
What's going on, man? Hey, I want to have a quick question. I'll be quick here. I got a couple innovations right now. One live, two going live here soon as well. My question is, what's your average days on market? Because like right now, like I know my innovations like in great condition. Is no one living there? Like it's vacant, clean. I pay like $2,000 to get some things updated, like nice and clean. I had to sell quicker. But man, like it's sitting for like 25 days. So I just want to know what your average days on market. And I know that depends on where you're at and what market you're at. But what's your
Yeah,
average days on market right now?
there's a couple things, right? It really depends on the demand in the market. Like I can tell you this, in the last 2 months, we have seen our fees go down and we've had to sell properties for less than what we thought they would have to sell for. Like when they shot at Trump and then all this shit that's going on, you know what I mean? There's been some uncertainty. I don't know what it is. But here's the thing too, it's weird because like we have one in Cranberry Township, Pennsylvania. We got multiple offers in the first day and we're making like 60K. You know what I mean? But then we have other ones that we thought were going to be bangers where we're like, dang, price drop. Thing is, you have to get on top of it. And I mean, a couple things, making sure you're interviewing plenty of agents. Don't just go with one referral and take their number and take it for it. You know, get their opinion on where they think it needs to be priced and have them explain why. Have them get in the details to see if they're actually, you know, what their reasoning behind it is. And then you can use what one agent tells you to cross-examine what the other agent says. And then you can take that to a third agent. So the big thing is making sure you have really realistic numbers going into it and not being too optimistic. Understand, like, you're essentially selling. You got to sell this shit quick. Like, you got to move it like
Yeah.
it's stolen goods. Like this, you're
Yep.
not a realtor. Like, it's not like, let's throw it on the market and see what happens. It's like, yo, we got to move this before sundown type of stuff. You know what I
And that's
mean?
kind of how I try to operate these things. Like I run my numbers. I already know what we're going to list it for. Like I already have an idea what I'm going to list it for because I believe in running your own numbers and knowing. Like, 'cause a
Yeah.
lot of my sellers are not in a rush. All my sellers are always like, "Hey, look, just give me my price. I don't care what you do. I want my price. I'm not in a rush." I'm like, "Okay, novation all day, every time." So my sellers are not in a rush, but it's like, damn, I want to get an offer accepted. So I just didn't know, like, right now it's back to school, so I don't know if that's kind of affected. But my market is really slowing down right now, and a lot of flips and houses are sitting right now, and that just wasn't the case 3 weeks ago. So I just didn't know if you were getting affected by that in your business, but it seems like it's kind of
Yeah.
happening to everybody. So.
Yeah, but honestly though, even if the sellers aren't tripping, unless there's something they're waiting on, it's still a good idea. Like you want to move these fast because like normally more time isn't going to help the deal. Like I always want them to have an offer or two within like the first 2 weeks. Like by week 2.5, I'm definitely price dropping if we don't have offers and a bunch of activity. And then I'm price dropping like maybe 5-6 days later. Like once we're at 3 weeks, like I'm in panic mode. Like the deal's almost cooked. Like then I have to like get an extension. You know what I mean? So I would
That
just
makes a lot of sense because that I'm in like week 3, and I'm like, okay, like we're getting a lot of wholesalers, but like, and the house is clean. It will pass the FHA. It's clean. Like it needs no work. It's very clean. So I just don't know what the hell's going on. So
lose
okay,
momentum. And when you finally get an offer, it's your only offer. So you have no leverage. And now they're going to be, you know what I mean? It's much better to underprice it and have multiple offers because then you have the power with the buyers where you're like, dude, listen, like we've got multiple you know what I mean? They'll play nicer with you. But it just sucks when you think you have a great deal and you find out like the real price is really lower. You just, you know what I mean? You got to accept that and either
yeah,
reduce, take less money right then.
that makes a lot of sense. All
Yeah,
right. Well, hey, I appreciate it. That was my quick question. I don't want to take up too much time, so I appreciate it. Thank you.
for sure, bro.
Mr. McCall.
What's going on, bro? First off,
What-
man, nice to meet you, man. I want to personally thank you, man, because you kind of changed my life and my business when it comes to these innovations, man. And I really wanted to give you thanks, man, because I don't know, man. Without you, I probably wouldn't have did the numbers I've been doing this year.
Let's
Appreciate that.
go, dude. Hell yeah, bro. I love to hear that. Thank you, man. And
Yeah,
congrats.
man.
It wasn't
So,
easy, even with my help. I know you went through some shit to
bro,
pull
seriously,
it off.
seriously, man, seriously. So I actually had a couple questions, man. I wanted to kind of
Yeah.
piggyback off what Savion was just talking about because I heard you bring it up. You said the interviews with the agents. So I've been through a couple situations, man, where I mean I got them across the finish line, but the agents, man, they kind of made the road a little bit bumpy. So I guess my first question would be, how was that? You like, what would that interview look like with that agent? Like explaining to an agent that hasn't done innovation or worked with an investor before. Like, how do you go about that process?
So here's what my call with the agents like. So when I'm calling agents that have sold in the area recently, right? So that's who I'm targeting. I'm not looking for the top agents. I'm looking for all the agents that have sold around there. And I'll use the top agents if I have to. Like I'll go to whoever the top producers are if I have to. If I'm trying to find someone that sold recently, then I'll call them. Is very nonchalant, non-emotional, non-salesy. You're just like a dude. You know what I mean? Hey, how's it going, Jessica? My name's Rich. I've got a property that we're looking to sell, and it's right by the one you just sold on 123 Main Street. And I'm looking for a good realtor. We're looking to move this thing really fast. I figured you would be a good place to start since you just sold in the area. I just reached out. I wanted to learn a little bit about you. Tell me kind of how that deal went and like what it would be like working with you and what can I expect. So I hit them with a bunch of things where automatically I'm getting them to talk about themselves. And I'm
Okay.
nonchalant. I'm not needy. I'm not like, hey, how you do today, Sarah? Have you ever heard of wholesaling? The novations? Like, so you want to keep it in the very beginning, keep it very standard procedure because remember, we're interviewing them to sell a house. We're not
Right.
looking for a novation partner. You get it? And that's what a
Yeah.
lot of people, they think like, well, if I'm just brutally honest with them from the very beginning, they're either going to love it or hate it. And then boom, it's good. And you'll find some. But what ends up happening is when you lead with that, the ones that are excited and hop on board a lot of times aren't the best realtors. The reason they're excited is they're like finally getting a freaking listing. You know what I mean? And they're just kind of like down for whatever. You know what I mean? They're like,
Yeah.
oh, you've got a house? All right, great. Right. So I'm getting them to talk about themselves. I'm getting them to talk about the property. I'm asking up follow-up questions about the area so I can gain valuable information. And then there's going to come a point in the conversation, hopefully after we've been talking for a while first, but where they're going to say something like, how long have you lived there? Is your name, blah, blah, blah. Something in terms of like, are you the owner of the house or them assuming you're the owner? The way I handle it, they say, well, there's a unique situation here. I'm actually the attorney in fact for the seller. I have a signed authorization for listing docs. Okay, the seller, they're going through a bit of a personal situation right now. Okay, out of respect for them, I don't want to get into all the nitty-gritty details, but essentially, they don't want to deal with choosing the realtor, handling any repairs, or basically anything up until the point where we have a acceptable offer. So they've signed over those responsibilities of me. I'm going to be the one making the final decision. They're going to be signing the closing docs, the buyer's offer, and collecting the money at the end. But, for the realtor we pick, it's going to be very easy because we're looking for professional advice and we're willing to follow it. We're looking to price this realistically for a quick, smooth sale. And basically, one thing you can do to help me out, because I have to make my decision pretty quickly, probably in the next 24 to 48 hours. One thing that'll be helpful for me is if I'm going to send over all the details I have about the property, and I can even potentially get you access if that'd be helpful. But I need to know what you think we need to price this at in order for us to get an acceptable offer within a few weeks. Okay, we're looking to sell this quickly and we want to be realistic, So if you can send that over to my email. So basically I redirect, and then I put it back on them. But the dynamic, the energy between you and the realtor is really important. You can't come off as a wholesaler. You can't come off as someone that doesn't know what you're doing. You can't come off as like a weirdo or a salesman. You have to be very nonchalant where they're like, damn, I don't know who this is. Like a lot of times they think I'm an actual attorney. You know what I mean? Just because the way that I present myself, you know what I mean? But that's the whole thing. Like they have no idea. Like, dude, I sound the same now as when I had no money. You know what I mean? So they don't fucking know. It's all about how you present yourself. I guarantee you their picture in their head of me is much different than what like the reality is if we were on FaceTime. You know what I mean? So that's the beauty of it too. Is it's an identity shift, you know what I mean? And it's being able just understanding the way to get the realtors is to get them hyped up to see you as high value and them wanting to impress you, not you doing some demonstration that's going to impress them, making them want to work with you. The way to get them to want to work with you is by being the picky one and making them qualify. Kind of like sometimes dating, right? That way, right? If you want it too much, they don't want you. If you act like you don't, they do, right? So it's kind of the same thing with them. With the realtors is you need to make them rise to the occasion, but it's a feeling. You have to be able to lead, because then if there's a power gap, like if nobody's leading the conversation, then a good realtor is naturally going to step in and do that. And then it's going to turn an inquisition on you. And then it's just going to go to awkward, non-productive land where you're just proving that you're not a scam. And it just gets like, it goes downhill.
So have you ever had to disclose that A to B contract, or like does that usually just come on the back end when it comes to, like the realtor?
No, like literally what I just said there, that's all the realtor gets to know. Like there might be some exceptions, but I don't use that to try to explain it because it's honestly none of their business. You know what I mean? Like they're there to sell the house. Like everything's legal. If they give me pushback on the AIF, they're like, oh well, in Texas, we need a power of attorney and you need to sign. I say, hey, that's no problem. I can just honestly, the only reason we sign as an AIF is just a courtesy to the seller. So it's one less thing for them to sign. I can just have them sign directly rather than me getting a mobile notary to go out to them. And then, you know what I mean? I can have them sign directly if we select you. So that's no big deal. But that's the easy side.
That was gonna be my next question. Like what for the AIF versus the POA? Like what? Because I've been running into that. Like everybody's been saying, even I've ran into a title company that say we had to get a mobile notary. They had to go out there and get a power of attorney signed. And I mean, it happened. We closed, but I just don't know how to overcome that objection.
Well, I always have the seller sign the buyer's offer. So the title company never sees the AIF. The only thing I use the AIF for is just for the realtor. And if they push back, I just have the seller sign.
Okay, that makes so much sense.
You'll run into problems when you do enough deals. If you're signing as an AIF for the seller and the buyer's using a loan, after enough deals, you'll run into one where the lender's like, wait, who the hell are you? And they'll slip out and it'll be at the worst time. Like for me, I was on vacation in Miami and happened to 3 deals on the same day. And then it was like, dude, we aren't doing this anymore. Because I was talking to my title company. They're all with the same title company, but the lender started tripping. Because you know what it is too, as these got more popular, more people start doing them. And they're all doing it at different levels of competency. And there's some people that are just like freaking cowboys going out there, just leaving a bloodbath behind them and screwing everything up. And then after a while, it's like, dude, we're not doing AI. Like they hear the stories of the worst ones. And they're like, we don't do that. You know what I mean? But if you have the seller sign, it'll eliminate everything with the title company, the buyer's agent, and the lender. But people say, well, won't they see how much you're making? Yes, they will. So you have to get really good at setting expectations. Yeah. And it's all about how you deliver the offer. When I deliver the offer, I'm doing a second discovery call to make sure, how's everything going with the moving plans? How can I be helpful? What steps can we take? You have to make sure their situation's solved first, because if they don't feel like they're good on their next place they're going, you giving them an offer and saying we got it sold is going to be a huge source of anxiety instead of a source of joy like it should be. You know what I mean? So
the last one I did, man, I kind of pulled it off a little bit different, man. I didn't have an AF or a power of attorney. I just had him sign the listing docs and the offer, the end offer. So that was
Oh,
kind
that's
of
the
cool.
cleanest way.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That's the
man.
cleanest way if you can, yeah. And if you have a good agent. So yeah, you did it if you have the seller sign, there's nothing like that they can really object with because they don't even know you're involved. At least not on paper, you're not involved as far as they're concerned.
Yeah, man. I'm not gonna hold you, man. I appreciate you, man, and I want to thank you again for just disclosing this to not only this community, man, but to the real estate world, because I didn't know anything about Novations before you, man, and I appreciate you, man.
Thank you, brother. Yeah, definitely. Let's stay in touch, man. Love to hear it.
This opened up a quick question for me, and I'd love
Yeah.
to bring everybody else up. Do you notarize the attorney in fact, or do you have them DocuSign?
No, they just DocuSign it.
Yeah.
And here's the thing. I can't tell you with 100% certainty that the attorney in fact is like an actual freaking thing. Like I've heard so many different opinions on it, and I just look at it like this, like, yo, I'm just trying to get these deals done. Like the true proper way, honestly, probably is doing a notarized power of attorney. But if you get them to sign the buyer's offer, that's the most important thing. Doing an attorney in fact in the buyer's offer and having it wrong, like if it's wrong on the listing agreement, no one really cares. There's not like a big penalty for it. You know what I mean? Like if it ends up being like not 100% legit on the listing agreement, it's not as big of a deal, but on the offer and stuff, it's a big deal because you're dealing with banks, lenders, title company, licensed agents, all of that. But yeah, I always have them sign.
Got you. All right, I think we got DeMarcus come up next.
Hey Richard, how are you?
Oh, good, brother. How you doing?
I'm doing great. I'm doing great. Thank you so much for putting this together with John. John, thank you as well. I know John's brought me up a time or two before. This chat has been amazing. My question is a little bit different than everyone else's so far. More on the mindset side of things. I know you had mentioned your mindset control, and you kind of had to be on top of that directly, almost on a daily basis. I would say I'm the same way. When did it click for you that that was something you were really going to have to hone in along your journey, as it obviously did wonders for you and you got to where you're at because of that?
You know what it is for me is I kind of like go through cycles of getting really, really strict and dialed in to like an extreme. And then it kind of slowly curtails off until I get to a point where I'm like, dang, like I've drifted really far from like my optimal. And then I kind of have an epiphany and then I kick back in. You know what I mean? But I think it's good too, because there's also, I look at it like this, right? If my whole life was just dedicated to making as much money as I could and just leaving with the highest number in my bank account, I would run my life way differently than I do now. You know what I mean? Like totally differently. I could be much more successful, much more profitable if I didn't spend time with my kids, if I did, there's lots of things I could do where I could make more money. So the thing with mindset is like sometimes, yes, maybe I will slack some on my working out, or I don't want to eat chicken and rice for the rest of my life and be completely 100% jacked. You know what I mean? Like, yeah, I might go through like a fluffy phase because I'm like enjoying food and just enjoying my family and just chilling, or maybe having some drinks or whatever. But like the key is like I try to keep dialed in where my mindset is in alignment with the season that I'm in. And sometimes I have seasons of really focused work where maybe I won't like smoke weed. You know what I mean? I'll be working out like crazy. Like I'm taking something where I need all my mental energy and I'm burning the candle at both ends. I'm not spending as much time with the family. Maybe I'm working late nights on something. I have to, you know what I mean? To get shit done in a certain timeline. And there's seasons like that. But then there's also seasons where you have some big wins and you want to be able to celebrate and you want to leave the work stuff completely gone, be without your phone and everything. And I think there's time and places for all that stuff. And I think like you don't want to get locked into this extreme where like no shade on Andy Elliott, right? But like, yeah, he has lots of success. honestly, I wouldn't want to live the guy's life. It's just not for me. You know what I mean? For him, it's great. It works. But I can't be that disciplined all the time. It's just not what I want. That's not what makes me happy. Or like to be like Wes Watson. That's not my thing. You know what I mean? More power to the people that are like that. But with the mindset, is just figure out like ultimately what do you want and what type of mindset is going to be required to pull that off and serve that. You know what I mean? Because yeah, too, dude, you want to be able to have fun and relax. Like some people that are super dialed in with business, that's their whole thing. Have you ever tried hanging out with them? Like, dude, their lives like are not that fucking interesting. You know what I mean? Or like, no shade to anyone that's like a bodybuilder, but if you look like a freaking bodybuilder, you're like a big portion of your life is dedicated around that. Like you can't go out to eat, you probably don't drink alcohol, you're working out every single day, and that's dope. Like if that's something that's a high priority, that's cool. But I'm just saying it's not for everybody. So figure out what it is that you want and what you admire and what's ultimately going to make you happy, and then build a mindset that's going to serve that goal.
Yeah, exactly. That answered the question on top of it. I'd say I'm the same. Go through a season where I'm super done. I'm more introverted myself, so for me, cold calling, just being able to be in my own space, do that is great. But also, like you said, you go through the season where not as dialed in. For me, it's very much on the daily presence. Like if I don't hit that quota of calls and I didn't talk to that many people, I think about it for the rest of the evening. Like it'll be a whole thing. So that was really interesting. And what does your routine look like now compared to what it did when you first started? And how did that change you as a person, but also your business?
You say what my team, right? Like how it's
Yeah.
grown and changed and everything. Okay.
Yeah.
So like when I first started, it was just me. And for like a good, I would say year and a half, it was just me. I might have limited help, some people that I'd bring on that would do some extra stuff, but I was essentially like in charge of like all the revenue. And then the first thing that changed was bringing on my first guy, Jesse Aguirre. I don't know if you guys know him. Real cool dude. He used to work for Steve Trang too. But he was my first guy because I got to the point where I got more leads than I could handle, and I had to bring someone on. It was like things were slipping through the cracks. I was getting DMs. Hey man, I submitted a lead 3 days ago. I'm like, sorry, I'll try to get to it. And then I'd have like 4 or 5 deals under contract, and then I'm putting out fires, and leads kept coming in. And the thing that held me back for so long was I was like, I don't want the responsibility of having people. I had a broken mindset. I saw people as being a burden rather than actually being an asset that would free my time. You know what I mean? But it's just hard in the beginning because I knew in the beginning they weren't going to know how to do things the way we did it. And I knew these deals were hard. And I was so busy cutting the wood, I couldn't stop to sharpen my blade. You know what I mean? I was like, I've got wood to cut, but I was doing it with the dull axe because it was just me. And I'd go on vacation. I was making good money, you know what I mean? Because I was closing the deals. I was getting to keep 60% all for myself. I was making good living, you know what I mean? But like I'd go on vacation and I'd be having to take calls and I'd have problems that'd be stressing me out, you know what I mean? I never had a break. And if I got sick or heaven forbid something happened to me, like all the balls I was juggling would just all fall, you know what I mean? I'd let a bunch of people down. So I got Jesse. Jesse got me Carlos. They worked together at Steve Trang, and Steve was shutting down his wholesale business. Jesse had already left, and Carlos was like the last guy. And Jesse said good things about him. We chopped it up, and we ended up clicking. He got on. So then I rocked with them for probably like 5-6 months, something like that. Then we got the third guy, Matt, and he was friends with Carlos, and they had worked together before. And then from Matt, then I got, I believe, Mark. And these guys are all now my 4 team leaders. So the way all my OGs that I trained personally one-on-one, I spent a lot of time with these guys. Like we did a lot of deals together. We had a lot of those late night conversations where we're working through problems where I could really imprint the majority of like the way that I learned how to do these deals and think with them directly one-on-one. Where now, like when we talk about deals, like they pretty much know what I'm going to say. I know what they're going to say. Like we see things in a very similar perspective now. And basically what happened was I rocked with them for a while, for probably like close to like a year. And my timeline, it may be off. You know what I mean? This is just right off the dome. But I was rocking with them. And when I really started seeing growth, was I started bringing on new people. And, some of them worked out, some of them didn't. And I started finding out like it really takes a certain personality type. Like there were some people that I brought on where they were good people, they had a good heart, but it's just they weren't built, they weren't a right fit for this team and for this opportunity. You know what I mean? But like when it really started taking off, honestly, was like in January. Like when I got the thing with Jerry where I knew I was going to go out to Puerto Rico and do that master class with him. I really saw that as like, dang, this could really transform my business and open me up to a whole new audience. I better start do some hiring because we had planned it a couple months in advance. And that's when I started bringing on more people. I started getting more aggressive, and I saw the vision where my team leaders were starting to train people. They were starting to get some success. They were making good money. I was seeing their lives change. And then it just started growing, and I just got more and more structured, started doing meetings every day. For like the first year, like we barely ever did meetings. We do like a couple meetings a month, if that. It was super informal. So I started treating it more like a real business, like all the things I learned in Kirby about the mindset and stuff, pouring into my guys and talking about the deals. But yeah, like the way I can do it, the way that I do it and still have my time is because the team leaders, and I have the business structured where they're making a cut off of all their people's deals. So they're like essentially running their own business within the structure of the JV team. So it also gives alignment for everybody where they have equity in the process. You know what I mean? Where if you have 10, 20 guys underneath you, like you could be making more money off of your guys' deals than you could ever make doing on your own deals. You know what I mean? And so, yeah, like growing the team is the big thing is we follow the same process. We talk about the deals all the time. Every day we're going through all our sold to buyer deals. We're going over all our problem deals. The team leaders are there to answer their nuanced questions, and all the main things that they need to know are all in the training. So I've documented all the most important things, and I've given them step-by-step instructions. So, but here's the thing, even when you lay everything out, I also have to drill it in as like, guys, this is up to you to do the work to be successful. I can give you the information, but you still have to study it, learn it, understand it. I push on them a lot to be self-sufficient. I basically try to set up the perfect environment for them to win, and then I push them to work hard. So I don't, you know what I mean? It's a nuanced thing, but like if you want strong people, like you can't baby them. So there is a kind of like a very competitive like sports environment of like kind of more of like a football coach than it, or like a general in the army with, not being crazy. Like I'm respectful to my guys and everything, right? But we are in battle, right? You don't want your general to just be the nicest guy in the world. That's great if he is, but more importantly, you want him to be dangerous and wise and actually be able to save your ass when things go wrong. I really try to be there for my people too, and I'm the one there spending the money, making the finance decisions and stuff like that. But then I also give them the opportunity to put in on deals and make returns on their money too. I try to set them up where it's like there's not a barrier where, oh, I'm the only one that makes money on putting in deals. I try not to be greedy with the opportunity. I try to share enough of it where everyone can feel like they are bought in and they're not being exploited. They're building something great together. You know what I mean? None of them work for me. None of them are employees. I have a unique model because of like my networking position, but it's like there's a lot of things that can be learned from my model. Is I tell all my people like the main thing you're going to get out of this is like the growth that the person you're going to become working in this team is going to set you up for the rest of your life. You're going to make more money than you've ever made before while you're here if you do this right. Like if you're making less than $20,000, $30,000 a month, there's something wrong. You're doing something incorrectly. You know what I mean? And it's a training issue. So, but yeah, that was a lot, but I just tried to hit you with what was coming off the dome as far as team wise.
No, I appreciate it. That exactly hit it on the nail, and I think a lot of people appreciate that answer. I think sometimes a long-winded answer at times is probably the best result for everyone. Yeah, I myself am, like I said, more introverted, so finding opportunities to be on a team and not sometimes just leading things is definitely a huge thing. When seeking an opportunity to work for someone down the road, such as yourself or John Johnson, there's a lot of heavy hitters in this group. You could say even Babe Ruth's in the group. what would you say that is the key things that you guys look for in someone when potentially looking at someone to bring on as a team member?
Question. So the way I interview people is I have them send me a 3 to 4 minute video. I tell them, give me some background information on you, why you want to be on the team, and why you'd be an asset to the team. And I purposely keep it vague to see what they think is the best way to answer those questions, right? And like what I'm looking for, I'm just looking for someone that's hungry, that's articulate, and is willing to do whatever it takes and is teachable and coachable, is going to be someone that I'm going to be cool being around. You know what I mean? Like, honestly, like it's all about just having that fire in your eyes. Like if you are someone that is hungry and you're willing to learn, like you will not, there is opportunity. But like if anybody's on this call, I am growing my team as well. And John may be as well too. You know what I mean? You can hit me in my DMs and I'll send you a copy paste message that'll explain the opportunity. You can send me a video, but we just hired a new guy yesterday. So like we're looking to grow to like 50. But yeah, I would say just make it easy on the person to help you. Figure out what it is they're looking for. But with me, yeah, you can just send me the video. And then if I like what I see, I'll put you on the training, or if I have and then it'll be up to you to study the training and come back to me for an audition. But that's how I do it. Then I'll give you an audition with one of my team leaders. If they like what they see, they will bring you on and you start. But I tell people on my team too, though, you know what I mean? Like it's commission only. So you need to be able to work for 60 days minimum and not make any money. So whether that's you have a side hustle, whether that's you're living off savings, whether you're living at your parents' house. But my guy now, so let me tell you a quick story. I didn't find this out till later, but I have a guy that works for me. His name's Darren. He lives in California. I met him for the first time like 2 weeks ago. He came out to my birthday. But he's been on my team. I found out he closed his first deal in the back of a pizza shop because he was delivering pizzas to stay afloat. And now he has like over $300,000 in the pipeline that's going to be closing in the next like 30 days. You know what I mean? Like, so that's the whole thing is like, you have to be for people in the beginning, understand if someone's paying you a bunch of money up front, there's probably not a lot of upside. And if there is a lot of upside, you're probably only going to get paid for producing a result. So that means you're going to be working a lot for free. You know what I mean? In the beginning, until you get good enough to build the value, because we only get paid when the deal's closed. So if you're young and you don't have kids and you don't have a family and you're in that position, I would burn the candle at both ends. Get a part-time job, work with someone, figure out who you can link up with and who the best person to get a hold of is. But if you can put in the work early, then you'll be cruising later in life. And then the type of fun that you'll have will be much better fun. You could be traveling with your boys where you're all balling and you're going out and staying in nice hotels and taking trips instead of sacrificing time that you could be building up your attributes to go to a dive bar and drink $10 Michelob Ultras or whatever. You know what I mean? Like it's better to sacrifice now so that when you're having fun, you can actually have some real fun and you have some real resources and everything. So focusing on building yourself up to self-development, learning sales skills, studying people that are in a position that you want to be and see what kind of advice they give. You need to work on building yourself first. If you can build yourself up, all those attributes, that will put you in the right position to be with the right people and do the right things. Because otherwise, if you haven't built up yourself enough, even if you get around the right people, they're going to recognize that you're not ready for them. You know what I mean? You're not on the level where they're seeing your value yet. You know what I mean? So always work on just building up yourself as much as you can. And then the right people will start appearing and want to deal with you more. You know what I mean?
100%, 100%. Even commenting back to your original comment, this is my last statement on the matter. When you mentioned you're homeschooling your kids, I was originally homeschooled, so learning and education was very self-sufficient. It was pretty strict. It was like you need to have this done by this time, or X and Y Z wasn't going to happen for you. And there was 4 of us, so mom wasn't able to sit there all day and teach everyone. You had to figure it out. So that was one comment. I really appreciate that you're teaching your kids that because that's really cool. And that completely changed how I viewed my outlook on life because we traveled a lot. So I really appreciate it when I hear people homeschooling their kids.
That's dope, bro. Yeah, no, thank you for sharing that, man. Absolutely.
Thank you so much, Richard. Thank you for your time, and thank you for getting on this podcast with John, producing so much information for anyone. Anyone looking to connect as well, reach out to me, reach out to John, reach out to Innovation King, Richard. There's lots of people in this group to connect with.
Cool.
Thank you, man.
We got time for one more. We got Vincent up here, patiently waiting. Oh, he's in the high rise too. What up, man?
Hi, Rich. Nice to meet you. How you doing?
I'm doing great, brother. How are you, man?
I'm doing good. Thanks for asking. Yes, sir. My name is Vincent, though, but I'm actually here to ask you a question, as that's why I'm up here. So let's say like worst comes to worst, and like you're 2.5 weeks up into an agreement with the seller, and you've kind of checked the activity on the listing, and it isn't going too well, and you decide you have to end up hitting the seller with a price drop. I know you do like to set the stage a little bit, not just hit them right with the information right away. How would you present that information of a price drop to the seller so you don't just lay out all the beans on the table, and you can set the table and get them ready for it?
For sure. So you want to get as much information beforehand going into that call. So this will, really the key is trying to prevent from being in that situation, right? But this is like how I'll maybe start at the beginning. If you're not getting a bunch of calls when it goes live and the first week you don't have any showings, you should already be on high alert. Should be on high alert. Like if there's not calls or showings, like you need a price drop like right away because it ain't going to get better in week 2. You know what I mean? So you have to start on it early. And then also you need to try to decode why are our expectations not being met? What information are we missing that that it's not happening the way we thought it would? And a good way to do this is lean on the agent. Hey, what do you think is going on here? We're not getting activity. I thought I was going to fly at this, and figure that out. And then when you go to the seller, have all that information in your back pocket. And it's got to be something like this, like, hey, there's a couple things that are really important. I really need to go over with you. Okay. We've been working like crazy behind the scenes. We've been going through every person that has purchased a house cash in the last year within a 30-mile radius. We've been marketing off market to all of our buyers like crazy. And, we've been on the MLS, exposed to every single agent and potential retail buyer. And here's the thing, we're getting some pretty consistent feedback. And I just kind of wanted to present this to you, just being open and honest. I want to lay my cards on the table. I know this is serious business and we all have a lot at stake here. Essentially, with the issue with the roof and there's a few other, like whatever the specifics are, why you think why, start naming all those off. And you need to be coming from a place of concern, not from a place of trying to get them down or a place of blame or anything. You need to be like, the energy that's moving between you guys need to be, you're afraid that this may fall apart and you're trying your best to keep everything together. So, and then it needs to be like, hey, look, it's really looking like we're running into a dead end here on the path that we're on. And I just want to be open and honest. We only get paid when the deal closes. So our interests are 100% aligned. We have no reason to take you on a ride here. But this is the reality of the situation. We've shown it, everybody has had a chance to look. And unfortunately, we're not getting the reaction that we had hoped for. And whether whether you sell it with us or anybody else, we're running into this same issue. And we've already made it this far. We're resetting our expectations on our side, and we're really just hoping to really just get this done. There's still some talks on where it looks like we're going to have to wind up, but I just wanted to have this conversation with you beforehand. So you didn't, I wanted to prep you as soon as I knew that the ball was rolling with this. I'm not sure what direction they're going to go. So I'm almost doing like how I do on an anchor call, where I'm adding in some fear and like some low anchor type energy just to see kind of how they react. But I'm saving my shot, so I'm not making them make a decision. I'm actually just kind of checking the temperature with them. And that also gives me a chance to do some low anchors if I want to, where it's like, hey, look, they haven't made a final decision yet. It's looking like there may be an extra $30,000 to $40,000 worth of work that wasn't accounted for. I'm not sure where they're going to land, or, I'm hoping we can keep this together and figure out a way we can proceed forward. But no matter what happens, I'm going to keep you in the loop. You know what I mean? And, I should be able to call back within a final decision. I mean, I'm hoping in, a little bit later today or whatever the case is. Right. So that's how I normally do, is I just check the temperature, because on mine, right, if that happens, I already know it's different. You know what I mean? Because other people, they'll have to price drop, but they never really like negotiate them that hard to begin with. So they don't maybe need all those theatrics because they already left a bunch on the table. Like mine, I've already peeled them back to the bone. So like if I have to price drop again, it's like a big deal. You know what I mean? Because like we went a long way. There was a big battle for them to get me to give up and send my offer. You know what I mean? So like for me to get them down from there, I know I have to build it up. It's going to be more of a process, right? But some of them will be a little bit easier. But when it's super easy, then you wonder like, damn, how good of a job did I do negotiating in the beginning? Like, you know what I mean? Clearly there was plenty of room. Like we've had ones where they'll drop $100,000. It's like, holy shit. You know what I mean? Like, really? That was there the whole time? But, yeah, like my advice to you is learn how to do it in case of an emergency, but the most important thing is learn how to avoid the emergency with the work on the front end, getting enough information in the discovery phase about the property, getting enough realtors through there, seeing are there little things you can do that'll be a high ROI. Maybe the house is just fucking dirty and gross. You know what I mean? And if you spend $400 to clean it up, that will make like a massive difference, where people are walking in and they're like, okay, this is old and dated, but old and dated and dirty and gross are two different things. Dirty and gross, people don't even want to be around, especially a retail buyer. You know what I mean? So there also too, there could be other little inefficiencies that are leading to your property not selling. Because in the beginning, I was super risk adverse to spending any type of money. In the very beginning, I didn't have any money to spend. So it was an easy decision not to spend the money, right? But then after a while, too, I got used to making money without spending money. And I never wanted to spend money. But I started realizing there's certain situations where there's a sweet spot where you get a really high, like a 3x, 4x return on the money that you spend. You know what I mean? And it's worth it in those cases because it'll help move it faster. And it's just like, you know what I mean? It's just, you have a very low risk of losing your money and things like that. So get in front of it. But yeah, there's not like really a nice way to do it. Like the way I told you is probably the nicest way you can do like an ugly thing, basically. But you
Also,
always
like
gotta look
talking, so like talking slow to them, just like how you deliver the anchors, the comms to them, and not trying to be in a got you type of phase kind of thing. So just more slowly, and then, but yeah, I do definitely appreciate that.
With the tension of them waiting for the final decision, so you're not showing your hand yet. You're just explaining. So just like with the anchor phase, right? For the people on the call that are in the training, in the anchor phase, we never give them an offer. We leave them waiting. You leave that tension because then there's still room for possibility. When you nail down an actual number, then all the possibilities collapse to just that number. But if I give you a range, you may be thinking at the low end of my range. You may be thinking at the high end. There's more room for you to agree with me.
Like
So
the
kind of this-
hypothetically.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And then there's room for me to back out. If they freak out, it's like, oh, well, hey, listen, like take that with a grain of salt. I'm not saying that's what it is. It is above my pay grade. So you're basically like laying out a position that you can back out of if you need to.
Okay, yeah, I haven't had to do a price drop yet, but just in case that day comes, I mean, I'd be prepared now because the information you're giving me. But yeah, I really appreciate the information here. Definitely dropping some sauce for everybody here. And yeah, my partner was telling me about just even the small things that can make a big difference. He's telling me about get like a pressure washer, some dude pressure wash the driveway or the siding on the house that can make a big difference. So we're definitely glad you brought that up. So I'm gonna definitely look into that now. Difference between
Nice.
being dated and dirty.
Yeah. And those little things too, like it'd be like, for example, right? If you go walk up to the house and there's a big pile of dog shit on the welcome mat, it just makes you think like, if they don't even fix that, like, are they changing the air filter? Are they getting, you know what I mean? It's just like that. It's stuff like that. Like I had a realtor that got pictures taken of the house, and there was this room. The room was completely empty, and there was like a old dirty pillow without a pillowcase and some papers and like a box there. And there was other rooms where there's a ton of shit in there, but there was something about them hiring a professional photographer to take a picture of trash that they literally could have picked up and moved anywhere that just like fucking bothered me so bad. So things like that, make sure not to do that. You know, like fix all the obvious stuff if you can. But yeah, you don't have to go crazy too. It just depends on who the buyer is. But when there's retail buyers, cleaning it up will make a big difference. It normally isn't that expensive. Unless they're
Okay.
hoarder, you can do it for less than $500 normally to get someone to clean it, even if it's gross.
Okay. Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Rich. I appreciate your time.
For sure. Well, dude, it's got to be what, like 2 a.m. for you now, John, or what is it? It looks dark out there, bro.
No, man, I'm actually on Eastern time, so it's 7:43 for me. But I really appreciate you taking the time and joining us and answering so many amazing questions and sharing so much with us. I know that there is going to be somebody from this call that is either in the audience right now or seeing the replay, and everything clicks for them, and they just go out and they take action and they start crushing it. And then when we come back sometime in the future to chop it up, they're gonna say, "Wow, I was in that call, and that was the moment that changed everything for me." So, I'm really, really appreciative of you, Rich. Not only for being on this call, but for everything that you've done, and everything you've contributed not only to our community but the industry in general. And I'm happy to share, everything that I can, any way that I can.
Thank you, homie. Man, I'm glad to call you a friend.
For sure.
Anybody on this call, if you're a friend of John, you're a friend of mine. You know what I mean? Let's get it. If
Yes,
you need
sir.
help, you can reach out to people on this call. You can reach out to me. NovationJV.com is where you can do deals with us if you want. You can check out, I got a free series on YouTube. If you got more questions about Novations, I can almost guarantee you any answer you'd be looking for from me is in that class somewhere. So yeah, keep grinding, man. You guys are doing the right thing. You're connected. You're connected. So just keep pushing, man. And I love, I know there's a lot of people on this call that are already killing it. I love that, man. We're breaking the matrix. We're breaking free of everything, dude. And having sovereignty over our own lives, dude, is beautiful. And you'll see as time marches on, that's going to become more and more important. It's going to be worse and worse to be someone that's poor as time marches on. Trust me, you want to build up your resources. Build them up. Don't go and buy all the Lambos yet. Save up a couple million. You may need it. You may not be able to wholesale forever. You may not have to buy some of these. And you'll find some that are so good that you'll want to buy them. But yeah, man. Thanks, John. Dude, I could talk all night. So I say we'll cut this off, man. I appreciate you, bro. Is there anything you need from me?
Oh man. Nothing, man. I mean, you've already given so generously, to me and to this call, and I just really appreciate you. But I'm sure there's going to be some sort of opportunity for us to potentially collaborate in the future, guys. If you haven't already, you got to go and follow Rich at Novation King on Instagram, and to be in touch with his team, like directly, you can work with his team directly. You can go to novationjv.com. That's your website. That's the place that people can go. novationjv.com. That's where you can submit your leads and your deals to work directly with Rich's team. So it's an incredible opportunity, especially if you're in a position where you take the information and you start to talk to people and pre-qualify them and identify that this might be a solution. That is an amazing resource to be in touch with Rich's team directly. All the people that are following that same system, you can go and see them there, but be connected with the professionals there. novationjv.com. All right, ladies and gentlemen. Rich, I thank you so much. Okay, it is because of you that this is the number one most valuable real estate community in existence. Guys, if you haven't already, you got to invite somebody you think would benefit from being in proximity with us. Send them that link. Tell them to go and check out reirev.com. We are rebuilding the website as well. And send them to come and join us on Discord and be in proximity with the almost 20,000 other real estate professionals that are here and showing up on a regular basis. Send them to discord.gg/REIRev. Rich, thank you so much, brother. I cannot wait to reconnect with you here in the future, and we will be in touch after this call to plan something, man. I have got a feeling that there's something we could be able to do.
Let's set up a call for next week, bro, and we can brainstorm. But I definitely want to work with you some more, man. So let's do it.
Absolutely will. Thank you so much, Rich. And thank you to everybody that's joined. Make sure that you go out and take action. Don't just let this information go in one ear and out the other. Use this as that opportunity that you've been granted to get out there and make money. All right, everybody. Peace.